You know, there's an old worship song that draws from a psalm, and one of the lines always sticks with me, and it's been coming to my mind often lately, and it's the line that says, "Restore unto me the joy of your salvation." And this video that we just saw made me think of that. And as we are going about our business, as we grow in our faith, as we continue on and grow as a church, as we become Christians for more and more years, it's easy to forget that, isn't it? The joy of salvation. What it was like to not know Christ. And there's people all in our community, all over the place, all around us, who are living that right now. And so lately I've been asking God, would you restore unto me the joy of your salvation, just that excitement, that passion that I once had when I first came to know you. And he's been doing it. And so I just want to take a moment and update you guys on some of the things I'm excited about that's going on at the downtown campus and honestly at the Ransom as a whole. And first of all, I'll say the best thing about being at the downtown campus this year has been having a baby. And I mean, giving birth to a campus. It's been pretty incredible. I guess you could say in a funny sort of way, I'm Cody's dad. So Phil's a grandpa. Yeah, man. So, no, it's been incredible to watch. Man, we launched a campus. I don't want to step on Cody's toes. He's going to share here too. But around 500 people, and the downtown campus is still going strong. Our ministries are still going strong. It's a testimony to the team members we've got, the leaders that we have in place. And so I want to say thank you to every single one of you who's been a part of that. We've got a culture of multiplication, of leadership development, of raising up and sending out. I'm so excited about that because that's exactly what the church should be doing. So that's been pretty obviously a high point for our year. But I also want to tell you a few things about our thematic goal. Now, just to a review, and I know it's in your papers that you were given, our annual reports. But our thematic goal was to courageously multiply this year, and there's all sorts of different ways we're going to do that. One of the things that I was integrally involved in was multiplying disciples. And so one of the goals that we put in place was to help people learn kind of the basics of the faith. We were worried that people coming through our doors just really had no idea about some of the most fundamental things of Christianity, and that was the impetus behind what we called Roots. We took a whole life group semester, and everybody went through this curriculum called Roots that we designed, and I think it was a success. I'm really grateful for everybody that had a part in it and all the leaders that led it, and we're going to probably do that sort of thing some more, just introducing people to kind of the basics and the foundations of Christianity. So that was one of our goals. But some of the more exciting things than that, which it was pretty exciting to me, but some of the cool things that we're also praying for was this. We noticed that we had a rather large gap between the number of people that were coming to Christ and the number of people that were subsequently being baptized. And we thought, okay, we're really excited that people are coming to Christ, obviously. But if we're doing our job right, then it should translate into baptisms, right? And so we were convicted about that. We thought we're going to take this next year and we're going to try to close that gap between salvations and baptisms. And I would say that our success is it's a little bit up for interpretation, but I would say that it's really all good. And here's what I mean. Our goal was to have 300 baptisms church-wide this year. We didn't quite get there. We had 202 baptisms, which is way more than we've ever had, and so we're grateful about that. But our goal was also to see 600 salvations in our church. We absolutely demolished that goal. We had 963. And so now, like I said, one of our goals was to close the gap between the number of baptisms we've had and the number of salvations we've had. And if you're doing the numbers, if you remember what I just said, that's a pretty big gap. 202 baptisms, 963 salvations. Well, the fact of the matter is a lot of those salvations came through what's called our care team. The people that are going into the jail every week and preaching the message. A lot of salvations happen there, and I'm happy to say that a lot of people that are hear the message in the jail end up at one of our campuses once they get out. And so we're so thrilled about that stream that we kind of have coming out of the jail and the opportunity to minister to those people. But when you take out the salvations that happened at the jail, it's actually much closer. It's 211 salvations versus 202 baptisms. And so we're thrilled about the trajectory that we're on there. We're happy about all the things that God is doing in the various places that Ransom meets. And I couldn't be more pumped about the future of the downtown campus. So thanks to everybody who goes there and for all that you do.
All right, I guess that means I'm up. My name's Cody Toops, in case you don't know me, and I'm the campus pastor here at South Campus. And I'm going to start with the thematic goal. And I was part of the team as well, working on the thematic goal. And part of my responsibilities in that was campusing. And you're sitting in what was part of that goal. And so we had a goal to, if you don't remember or you're new enough that you don't know, what you're sitting in, known as South Campus, used to be in Harrisburg, and it was a portable campus. And so we would meet in a middle school, and we would set up and tear down. And part of the goal was to move into a permanent facility where it's sustainable and we can be a permanent fixture in a community to be able to reach out and to minister to people. And so we've been able to do that. But here's the great thing, and here's the thing that I love, is we did it as a church. You see, it wasn't just a South Campus thing. It wasn't just a downtown campus thing. It was a church thing. And we, as the Ransom, got to look to God and say, God, this thing seems so big and so crazy, but okay, here I am, Lord, send me, here we go, right? And we were able to do that. And so you are sitting in the result of a God-sized vision and God doing amazing things. Nothing that we have done, but what God has done here at South Campus. And so if you turn to page 5 in your handout, in the annual report, or you're watching at home on the attachment, you will see in there just a little bit of information from South Campus to kind of bring you into the loop. And so we launched South Campus on January 8th. And so all of the data, all the stuff I'm going to talk about is from January 8th through the last Sunday in April. And so we launched opening weekend here at this campus with 759 people in attendance. And it was bonkers, crazy, amazing here. You came and it was standing room only. As you look around this room, you'll see there were people sitting with their backs to the wall, shoulder to shoulder. Every seat was taken. We ran out of space. Deanna, our kids director, she brought down all of the round carpet squares, the colored ones. We had them out in the lobby, streaming everything out on the TV, and it was just an absolutely energetic, exciting weekend to launch the campus. And so, well, how have you been doing? One of the questions I get all the time when I peek into downtown campus or visit is, well, how are things going down there? Or Pastor Phil here, he gets asked, is everything okay at South Campus? Because at downtown, things are filling back up. And the answer is yes, God is moving and doing great things. And so on your annual report, you'll see there where it says adults, 447, that's our average attendance inside of our warehouse. And then you look at the kids, every week we average, since we've opened, 113 kids in the kids ministry for a total of 560 people on campus, average every single weekend here at South Campus since we've opened. And the amazing thing is we ran out of space I know, right? We ran out of space within about 10 weeks, and we had to add an evening service. So now we have a 6 p.m. evening service that is rocking and going, and it's just so cool to see God at work. We've seen 16 baptisms. We've seen 9 salvations, and we have, I might be a little biased, I would say we have the most amazing volunteer team members on the face of this earth. We have over 200 that jump in and help out and make things happen here. And so I want to end with just 2 stories. And the first story comes from a young woman who was really close with her cousin. And her cousin was a teenager, and she lost her in a tragic car accident. And through the Ransom's involvement in the funeral and different things, this young woman had questions. And she began to ask questions and started attending the Ransom and having discussions with our staff. And since has given her life to Christ. And in January, she was baptized here and now is getting plugged in, serving. And her boyfriend is now plugged in and serving, and we're just seeing awesome things happen. And another incredible story is there's a gentleman who, his name is Marv, and Marv actually lives on my street, and Marv and his family began attending the Ransom. And during our first baptism, Marv comes up to me and he says, I need to be baptized. And I'm like, okay, great. And so we talk about it. He's like, not only that, my wife and my kids are coming as well, and we're getting baptized as a family. And you see right there in your handout, you see his baptism testimony. As you know at the Ransom, we read these, and I couldn't do it any more justice than what he said, so I'm just gonna read it, and these are his exact words. It says, when I was 8 years old, I was baptized into the Mormon church, not because I wanted to, not because I accepted Christ in my life, but because it was expected of me as a member of that church, and I was not given the opportunity to choose. Today, I am getting baptized because I do accept Christ in my life, and I choose to walk in his footsteps. You see, guys, This is just the beginning of what God wants to do with the Ransom. And this is what's going on all around both of our campuses. And this is what I know is going to happen with future campuses and what God wants to do. And so we can't stop. We cannot stop. There are more people who need to know Jesus. There are more people who have broken marriages. There are more captives that need to be set free. And we need to continue in that pursuit.
Yeah, right. I get to talk about our third campus, because this thing was Courageously Multiply. And so, to see more people come, that's great. And then to do South Campus, that was like cautiously multiply, strategically multiply, and a little bit courageously multiply. And then we were like, and we're supposed to do West Campus. And that was just plain like crazy. Gutsy, stupid, I don't know, all of those things, but we like to refer to it as courage. You might find another descriptive word for it, but that led to all kinds of things. But what it led to more than anything was just a lot of prayer and just seeking God's face and saying, God, is this really, really what you want? And is this your timing? And is this your plan? And would you just show us your faithfulness? And we're going to talk about called out in a little bit. Man, was he faithful. Man, was he faithful. We would have liked to, mostly because we're just really driven, like competitive people, we would have liked to have gotten West Campus up and launched in the goal time. That didn't happen, but what also didn't happen is that we said, well, we didn't make it. We're still doing West Campus. We're still chasing it, and it's in the future. And so, I don't know, is the drawing up there? Can we put the drawing up there? This is a proposed West Campus drawing. This is not what we are doing for West Campus. It's what we could do for West Campus. It's one option. It's an option we're leaning heavily towards. This is a 450-seat space, expandable to 600 seats. It is west of Interstate 29. It's north of 12th Street. So it's kind of out in the new northwest-ish area, but still very west central. God has blessed us with this builder with an opportunity and just a really good opportunity. And so we're probably furthest down the road with this. Again, we're looking, exploring every option possible. But this is a very likely thing to happen. And the number one question is timeline. The number one question before was money, and then we get called out. Now people are like, oh, timeline, and they're ready to go. And so the best I can tell you is we're incredibly optimistic people. We like to press forward, but we have predicted that we would try to do this at the soonest, probably a year-ish from now, would be the launch, just simply because of how fiscal things work out. But I can tell you this. The three triggers that we've put in place, because we want to be held accountable. Part of this meeting is that you guys know what's going on, and so we want to be held accountable we will not build too soon. We will not build stupidly. We want to be smart about this. And so we have three triggers in place that we're chasing. The first trigger that we have in place is that half of all called out pledges are in. Okay, now if you look inside your report, as of this report, I think we're at 29 or 30%, something like pretty close to 30%. Okay? When that number gets to half of all the pledges, we would go. And so that would be roughly $1.3 million. That's just fiscal responsibility. We're trying to be smart there. That's not the only trigger, though. The second trigger is that our current budget, will support West Campus. You can have money to build it, but if you don't have the budget to pay for the staff and all of the things that have to go with it and the electrical bill and all that. So we need to make sure that our giving is increased. As you see the financial report, and Walt will talk more about that later, our giving has gone up, and that's great. As we continue to grow, we anticipate it will continue to go up, because you typically see attendance grow, and then people start serving, and then people start giving. And that lag is about 18 months. So about the time we're looking to do West Campus is about the time we anticipate seeing that type of support in our budget. And when our budget will afford it, we'll move, okay? The third is that we need to plant another campus. And you might say, what are you talking about? Another campus before West Campus. Yes, it's a campus that happens at both our current campuses. It's called Sunday night. Because here's the deal. We launched South Campus, and both Sunday mornings filled up. We asked people to move to Sunday night again, and a bunch of people did, and both Sunday mornings filled up. Are you noticing a trend? So we need Sunday night to fill up. And I'm asking everybody watching at home, everybody here, I'm asking you, if you could give us the summer, okay? Sunday night in the summer. Everybody say it. Sunday night in the summer. Go camping. Have fun with your families. Come back late and stinky, smelling like campfire and fish, and come right to 6 p.m. service. Well, come to 4:30 because you're going to attend one, serve one, right? But come to church on Sunday night. Go golfing. Invite your neighbor to go golfing on Sunday morning. And then while you're golfing, invite them to come with you on Sunday night. Give us 3 months and see if it blows up. If it blows up your world, go back to, Sunday morning. Although I'm hoping by that time there won't be a seat for you. So, but we would just ask that you would really consider that, because that would just help us out so much. The third trigger is we need to fill up Sunday night. If we launch West Campus right now, today, it would hurt us. It would stretch us too thin. Volunteers, attendance, everything. And so we need to keep Sunday night going, keep Sunday night getting healthier, so that Sunday morning will naturally fill back up, everything goes up, and then we can launch healthy. Does that make sense? So that's kind of the timeline for West Campus. And when I look at this from a macro level, and I go, did we courageously multiply this last 18 months? Because really, here's what a thematic goal is. It's asking yourself, what's the one thing we need to do in the next 18 months? If we don't accomplish it, we will feel like we have failed. We have not achieved what God laid out before us. Have we courageously multiplied? And my answer is, you bet. You bet. Now, we're done with that and already dreaming up our next thematic goal for the next 18 months. We haven't landed. Our executive team is wrestling with it. We haven't landed. But what I can tell you about that is that we are unified in a desire to reclaim what's been lost in our culture, to recapture, to use the scripture from the church in Ephesus in Revelation, we have lost our first love. I just think, as Phil was talking about earlier, it's really easy to fall into the motions of church and forget he's our first love. And so in the next 18 months, I don't know exactly what we'll chase, but what I know is it will be we will be doing everything in our power to rediscover and to rekindle and to refine the passion in every one of our souls, from kids to youth to our future campuses. We don't just believe a bunch of church people need to go to church. We believe the world needs Jesus. And we believe he called us to reach him. And not us, Ransom, like you and me. I'm thinking of my neighbor. I'm thinking of my hairstylist. I'm thinking of the people I meet at the gym who just matter so much to Jesus. And I'm asking them to help me have the same heart where they matter that much to me. So that's where we're going in the next 18 months. We're just going to chase all of God. We're just going to chase all of God. We think that's the best way he can equip us for West Campus and for the future. So watch this video, face story from our Called Out campaign, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit.
God led us to check the Ransom out. It was like the second weekend that the Ransom was actually open. In this building, yeah. So we came here and we both left and we just looked at each other and said we knew this was where God was leading us to be a part of. So it's been about since 2011.
One spiritually defining moment for us is definitely our wedding. We started going to the Ransom kind of early, and we were able to, they were still doing weddings here, and so Phil married us, and Steph was our wedding planner coordinator.
We've got a lot of friends and family that that still aren't following Jesus 100%. You know, obviously for my love for Christy, it was just amazing to hear those words as he's, you know, speaking over us. But also for our family and friends to hear the word of Christ and truth it was so cool, and it just again just kind of resonated of this is where God has us, the Ransom. This is where we're supposed to be. It's just fun to watch people's lives change. People that Christy and I have known outside of church that now are coming to church, and just seeing their lives completely transformed and changed when they've allowed Christ to get in their life, and really have allowed getting involved in the Ransom and getting involved in the DNA of living free and serving free and just diving full into the mission. God has really blessed us in so many ways, and He blesses everybody in each and every way. And one way He is blessing us is just through generosity right now, and we're just excited to see where this is going to lead and how many lives God is going to change in giving our time and our efforts and money, whatever that's going to look like. It's fun because we're all in.
Phil told us recently, we're not out to just get neighborhoods for Christ, we're out to get entire zip codes, and that just is so inspiring. And we love that just the culture of Sioux Falls could change in that way, and we could be a city that serves each other and loves each other and follows Christ.
You know, one of the reasons we got involved with the Ransom is we believe 100% of the mission of the calling that God has on the Ransom and the leaders of this church to live free, to serve free, to worship free. And I love that with generosity it gets us out of our comfort zone, and that is just so fun and exciting.
So I also get to celebrate with you the official final results of Called Out. And they're never really final because we still have people praying about what God might do. There are going to be people who come to the church in the next 2 years who are going to go, what's this Called Out thing? And we're going to get to talk to them about it. And they're going to go, I want to be part of that. That's exciting. And I know that's true because on Pledge Sunday, we had guests who made pledges. First-time guests who made pledges. Quite a few, actually. Like surprisingly, shockingly. But our goal was $1.9 million. The result is astounding, $2,639,000, which is, it's more than we could. What's even, just as exciting or more exciting is our first fruits offering. We've already seen $548,997 come in, which is 29% of the total funds in the first month, which is incredible. We surpassed our goal by 28%. But those stats are exciting, but what's really exciting are the stories. There's several stories there written down on the page. One story I want to share with you I'm connected fairly well to some people, mentor groups and different people that speak into my life at a church in Atlanta. And I got the ability to connect with one of them who, I was sharing about Called Out with. And I shared the story of a guy in our church who came up to me the first week of the Called Out sermon series. And he said to me, and he's not a well-to-do guy by any means, and he said to me, I have to be a part of this. He said, my entire life, from the time I was old enough to know what was going on, everybody who ever spoke into my life told me the same thing, that I was worthless. And so I just assumed I would be born, I would live, I would die, and I would never have any impact on anything on this planet. It would be like I wasn't even here. And he said, what you just described to me is that through my gift, I can be part of something that's legacy, that will outlast me. I got to be a part of this. And he pledged to $10 a week. I was sharing this story with this guy in Atlanta, and he was so moved. Him and his wife made a $3,000 donation to Called Out in this man's honor, and we've been able to connect them. And for me to be able to come back and tell him, you inspired someone, and the gift you gave isn't just what you gave, it's $3,000 more, he couldn't even process it. We just have miracle story after miracle story of what God did in hearts and lives through this, because we're chasing him. We're not chasing money, we're chasing him. We're chasing his kingdom, and we're doing what he called us to do. And so we're really, really excited about those numbers and the first fruits and everywhere we are at. And please be praying for those who are still praying. You know, we got quite a few people just still trying to figure out where God wants them to land and what that's going to look like, and that's great. But we're moving forward, and we're excited. So Walt's going to give us a kind of an update on where we are financially, and that's really fun. It is really fun. No, it's really fun. I'm being dead serious. It's really fun. And then we'll wrap things up, but with a little bit more worship. But I want you to hear what Walt has to share with us.
Cool. All right, so how many of you really are numbers guys and gals? Raise your hands. Be proud. Come on now. There you go. All right, we're going to be passing out some handouts now, because you'll notice that in that annual report there were really no budget numbers, no annual report numbers, none of those kind of things. We wanted to give those to you now, because if we gave them to you too early, you'd be reading them instead of paying attention to all the cool stuff that happened beforehand. I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview about the budget process in particular. Some people are kind of the persuasion that this is something that just happens quickly, but it's actually a 6-month process. I start this process in December. I work on it during the month of December. Then the executive team and then the staff work on that for January and February. We have a finance team that works on it our elders work on it a bit in March. Finance team works on it in April. We come back together again. We make changes. We adapt it. We talk about it. And we go through all that process. And literally, we had a couple last-minute changes even this afternoon. So this is literally hot off the press, okay? So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an inkling in terms of the process of what we do and how we do it. Also wanted to give you a bit of an understanding in terms of how we kind of make some decisions. One of the decisions that as a church we do differently than most churches is that we base our budget on the trailing 52 weeks income. In other words, Phil and I don't get to dream together and go, oh, dude, if we just had 300 more thousand, we'll just dream. We'll just add 300,000 to the budget because then we can do X, Y, and Z. We call that a faith budget, which quite often sometimes just doesn't happen. And so instead, we put a guardrail around the process we do and be able to say, for the last 52 weeks of income, that will be our actual target number for the budget for the next year. Now, sometimes that's a great, that's wonderful. Other times, that's limiting. But either way, it causes us to be prudent and to be wise in our allocation of those funds. So, let me go through and give you a overview here. And when I say overview, that means I am not going to be talking about every cell on this document. There you go. Those are the non-number people applauding. The number of people are going, oh, but that's why I came. Any questions you've got, I'll be able to answer those afterwards. But on page 1, that's the page that has the kind of the blue banner at the top. It's talking about the approved budget versus the actual. I'm just going to highlight a couple things on this page. Number 1 is that last year's budget was $2,327,850. Our income at the end of the fiscal year was actually $2,529,000 and change, or $200,000 plus over our budget. Now, again, in today's world, that is amazing. Can we give God a round of applause for that one? Yeah. That is just stinking awesome. So that's the kind of the top line number. The bottom line number, if you go all the way down to rows number 72, you'll see again what the budget was, and then you'll see what we actually spent. That being $2,251,000, or we underspent our budget by $75,000. Now, trust me, in a growing church, the tendency is always to overspend with the money you've got coming in. But we had a strong goal, and part of the thematic goal was actually to grow what we call our operating cash reserves. When we started the year last year, we had less than 30 days of what we call unrestricted operating cash reserves. We ended the year with 90 days operating cash reserves. Okay? Well, I should say ended. At the end of March, we had 90 days. We don't today. And the reason is because we took 60 days of that money, we put it toward the loan, buying down the loan. So we're paying less on that. So we have around 30 days of operating cash reserves today. And honestly, for at least the next couple of years, we're targeting to trying to stay in that 30 to 35 range, because one of the things we were able to do is we were able to renegotiate our loan, get a substantially reduced interest rate. We went from 5.5% to 3.5%. Not bad. And with that, I mean, seriously, that really makes a huge difference. And I'll show you that in just a second. But in the midst of that, we got some great terms, which allows us not only to pay additional principal throughout the called out campaign, but we're also able then to reamortize the loan at no cost throughout the campaign. So we are able to lower our payment each quarter as we make additional payments. So the money that you have coming in will help reduce that loan balance and the amortization table as we move forward. That loan is also pre-approved for an amount for West Campus. So when we're ready to do West Campus, we don't have to go through a whole nother loan process. So then, that is awesome. Melissa really likes that one. If you turn over to the other side of the page, you'll see last year's budget versus our proposed budget for this coming year, and that is going from on the line 3 there of $2.3 million and change to $2,552,400. Now that is, like I said, the trailing 52 weeks. Now, if you kind of looked on the other side, you might have noticed, for especially the numbers folk, you'll notice that those two numbers don't match, the end of the fiscal year and then this number doesn't match. Well, that's because we have to lock in this number to finish the budget process basically the first week of April. And so we had a high of our trailing 52 weeks that first week of April, and we've gone down about $20,000 or so since then. But that's okay. That's just part of the process. Next month it'll go back up again, and that will continue to track that literally week to week. I mentioned the mortgage, and one way you can see that is on line 13. The downtown campus mortgage was $159,000 and change last year. With it going down 2%, it goes to $120,000 on an annual basis. And by the way, not only did we get the 2% down, but it wasn't well known, but there was a large balloon payment at the end of the term on the old loan, where we were going to owe about $800,000 to $900,000. So we are fully amortized, so we won't have that balloon payment at the end either. So that's kind of cool. As you go through here, also you'll see basically the expenses all match and everything else. But I want to give you some highlights that you don't necessarily see by just looking at the budget. I mentioned guardrails, and those guardrails are what we call a 10-10-80. 10% of the money that comes in, we give away. That's through Compassion, that's through the Turkey Giveaway, that's through Poetas, that's through Casas, all these different organizations we support. 10% is given away. That is a non-negotiable number. And you'll see that on the budget there, that is budgeted for 10%. We actually gave away, I think it was 12% this past year. Okay, so you'll just see as you go through that, that's one of those guardrails that is there and is in the new budget. 10%, one of the guardrails is to save 10%. Save is a little bit of a term, but basically the idea is that we're saving toward the next campus. Okay, honestly, this is probably the place where we're weakest. In a growing church, there's just a ton of needs, and we're just not able to get it to 10% in this budget. So it's just under 4%. It's 3.9% in this year's budget. We've got $100,000 set aside in this year's budget for West Campus. Now, we may not spend a dime of it this year on West Campus directly, but it creates a placeholder for West Campus in next year's budget. And so that's something that's important to us and something we can grow in. We also have a guardrail of no more than 15% of our debt or mortgage going toward coming out of the budget. So no more than 15%. This budget represents 12.8%. Okay, so this mortgage allows us to actually spend less than our limit, if you will. And personnel. In any organization like ours, any church, personnel is our largest single category, if you will. Churches think about this in a number of different ways. Church I came from in California, we had 68% of our budget going toward personnel. We have a different view here at the Ransom, and that our goal, our guardrail, if you will, is we want to spend between 45 and 50%. And so that's our kind of our goal. This year, this budget, what this represents is 48.1%. If you actually add the mortgage and the personnel, it's only 60.9%. And our overall goal, or one of those guardrails for myself, is that those two are no more than 60%. I'm sorry, I'm off 0.9. But that's how we manage the gifts that you give to us. That's so it's very, very important. The other thing that in personnel that is important for us to think about is not just money. How do you know if you're overstaffed, or how do you know if you're understaffed? And so we created another guardrail out there for us. Most churches have a staffing ratio of one full-time equivalent staff member for less than 90 attendees. 90 people on average, okay? Often they're in the 60 to 80 range. These are the churches that I consider to be overstaffed. The church that I was at in California, the reason why we had the almost 70% personnel budget, we were overstaffed. The glory days were behind, but they were not willing to make the hard decisions at that point. Our staffing ratio is more than 90%. Or more than 1 to 90. In fact, as of today, I looked it up, our ratio is one full-time staff equivalent for 124. Now that is, again, pretty lean. Anything between 125, 130, you're understaffed. So we're right on the cusp of that area at that point. As we continue to grow, we'll have to continue to add staff in order to best be able to serve folk. And by the way, do you think our staff do a great job? In fact, here we go. Staff, stand up. Stand up. If you're on staff. These folk are awesome. No. There you go. Now, by the way, we do have a category called volunteer staff, and so if you'd like to volunteer, a significant amount of hours, we can consider you staff at that point. And then the rest of the budget, basically that's 20% of the budget goes toward our campuses, and everything that we use to pay for South Campus, the coming up West Campus, but then downtown campus, and then our office also. So that kind of gives you a great overview. But the most important takeaway is what you heard Phil Wiseman talking about, what you heard Cody talking about, what you heard Phil talking about. It's not about the dollars and cents. It's about the people. And you never know when you're going to have an opportunity to be able to speak in somebody's life. Today, I'm working hard on this, trying to get this all set. And as I'm working in my office, all of a sudden I hear yelling out in the lobby. And I'm going, seriously, what is going on? And I'm going, well, so you have to understand, our office, we have lots of people yelling because of practical jokes. So I thought maybe it was a practical joke, but then I'm hearing, this is anger. And I'm going, what's going on? And I'm thinking, well, it'll go away. But it didn't. And so I go out there, and Angel is having the opportunity to be able to minister to a person who quite frankly, life is giving them a bum rap. Life sucks for them. And they were angry. And they were taking it out on Angel. And I came out there, and I had the opportunity to be able to just help them calm down. And then Angel and I went into another room with them and just had the opportunity to hear their story. And all they really wanted, just to be heard. They had a life group leader ministering to them, and that was awesome. They have a church that they call their church home, being able to listen to anger about all the things that are going on at the police department and the court system. They weren't mad at us, they were mad at life. They just needed to be heard. And we just have an awesome staff that are able to do that. Angel being one of them. But Angel, Cody, Phil, myself, we can't do it by ourselves. So I had the staff stand a second ago, but I'd like, if you volunteer, if you're one of the team members on any team, I'd like to have you stand, because I want all of us to applaud you because you're doing an awesome job. So if you're a volunteer, if you're a team member, please stand, because you make ministry happen.
All right, we're a little bit over time. Is that okay? We got just one more order of business, and then we're going to wrap it up with some worship and tours for anybody who wants it and that type of thing. So we are, at the Ransom, we are big on accountability. One of the reasons we do this is for accountability. We want you to know. We want to be an open book. If you want to, like Walt said, if you have any financial questions, he's going to hang out afterwards. You can ask. If you have any questions on any of the campuses, you come talk to me. Any questions we didn't answer, come up and see us, and we'll answer after this. And we want to have accountability with our district, with our denomination, and we want to have accountability just within ourselves. We don't want to be just kind of up on a, mountain somewhere making decisions and just saying, "Thus saith the Lord." We want to be held accountable. So he mentioned we have a financial advisory team that's all lay, members of the congregation. They're not staff. We also have an elder team, and so we've got some elders in the room. Would the elders stand up real quick? So Aaron Imhoff back here, Don Vandentop, Colin, who prayed for us, Jim Roddle, Kyla. These are current elders, and then this guy in the middle, John Daniel, is standing. I want to talk. You guys can sit down. Yeah, give him a hand. They meet with us. They grow with us. They learn with us. They share ideas. They hold us accountable. They pray over us. They call us on stuff, and that's what they're there for. We had two other elders, David Nissen and Jim Cook, who recently stepped off. They'd been serving for several years in just a different place in life. Jim and Megan are adopting, in the process of an adoption, and that holds your whole life hostage for a season when you're in the waiting, and and then David and Faye were just in a season where best for their family, they step out. And so we thought we needed to add some elders, and man, there were just so many people on our short list, which was actually like a medium list, because so many people just serve the Ransom so well. One of the things that we decided as an elder team together is that I am currently the youngest person on the elder team. I would like to believe I'm still young. My children tell me that is not true. I might still be young, but I can see old from where I am now, and I couldn't before, and it doesn't seem so old, And so we decided we needed to bring someone closer to the generation that we need to reach so desperately onto our team. So John Daniel was one, and they're going to put his picture up, I think, on the screen. John and Katie. Yeah, so sweet. Look at they love each other. John is a phenomenal member of our church, our congregation, involved in a lot of places, including Restore Ministry. So if you want to know about Restore, see John, and he can tell you all about it. And then Caleb Cook, who couldn't be here tonight because he had already had some vacation time scheduled before he knew about this meeting or the fact that we would want him to be an elder. But Caleb and Kristen are incredible servants. Just to give you an idea, a snapshot of Caleb's heart, Caleb will work a lot of times overnight on Saturday show up in his scrubs and make coffee for y'all. Like, and if he has to work on Sunday, he'll show up in his scrubs, make the coffee, and leave. And he can't even come to church that day, but he doesn't call and say, I can't be there. He comes and he makes all the coffee, make sure everything's ready, because he's a guest service team leader, leads his team, and then goes to work. Or he comes after a 18-hour shift and leads his team. And then at the end of, he did that like a couple weeks ago, and at the end of it, he looked at Walt and he said, I'm going to go sleep now. Yes, you can do that, please. So that just gives you a snapshot into the heart of Caleb and John as well. Just incredible, incredible men of God, and we're excited to have them. And so wanted to celebrate that they were joining the team and be accountable to you there. What we always like to do with any new elders, and the reason we put those two guys in particular up there is sometimes you know stuff we don't. If you know something about Caleb and John we don't, I will be like flabbergasted. But if anybody knows the reason, man, one of these guys shouldn't want to serve, they want to submit themselves to accountability too. One of their biggest concerns is, hey, we want to make sure that we can live up to these standards of an elder and want your accountability. So we'd look for an email and take that into advisory. But I think we got two phenomenal young men here. So.